I don't listen to suggestions. Now, I'm not talking about feedback here. Feedback is very valuable. Suggestions, on the other hand, you need to take with a grain of salt. Let me give you an example of a suggestion I ignored and how that improved my game. Early on in development, when I was playtesting, a lot of people suggested that I add a mantle mechanic. Basically, if you missed a platform, the player character would be able to grab onto the edge and pull themselves up. Now, the problem with this is that Later Skater is a game that's all about going fast, and having to constantly stop to pull yourself up a ledge would just kill that pacing. Now, here's the thing about any suggestion that a player makes. It often comes from the place of trying to solve a problem that they see. Players don't understand your game as well as you do though, so the suggestion often won't be a good fit for your vision. The problem, however, is usually valid, and what you need to do is look past any suggestions and identify the underlying problem that the player is trying to fix. Like, let's say for example, a player suggests giving them more health points. The underlying problem that they're getting at is that they feel they're dying too easy. And yeah, you could solve it by giving them more health points, but maybe the underlying problem is that the enemy collision boxes are too big. Maybe there's too many hazards in the level. Or maybe just hazards and enemies are poorly telegraphed and need better animations. Or maybe they just have a different skill level than what you're designing for, and you should consider maybe adding an easy mode. There's a lot of different possible solutions for that problem, and it's the responsibility of the designer to identify which is the correct one. So in my example with the ledge mantle, what was really going on was players felt that they didn't have a way to correct a jump that went bad. And there are two things I did to address this. Firstly, I just subtly tweaked some of the movement values so that the player has a little bit more air control. But the more impactful thing I did was adding the air dash mechanic, which fixes the problem by giving the players a new way to correct their jump, which also happens to feel fast and require a little bit of skill to use. And ever since I added that feature, nobody's asked for a ledge mantle again. And the crazy thing about it is that air sliding ended up becoming a core part of Later Skater. It's hard to imagine the game without it, and that's why listening to player feedback is so important. But you just have to kind of do the extra work to analyze where that feedback is coming from. Now, speaking of suggestions, I have a really good suggestion for you. Head on over to Steam right now and look up Later Skater. I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a wish list, and you can also try the demo while you're there.